You've tuned into the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr., a podcast designed for couples who are married, couples who are dating, and have marriage in their future. We will guide you to the principles that will make your relationship better. Stick around. You might just learn something that will help your relationship last longer, grow stronger, and become healthier. Now, here's your host, Tony Miller Sr.
Hello, everybody. This is your host, Tony Miller Sr., and welcome to another episode of the Relationship Therapy Podcast. I'm so excited that you joined me this week for this episode because we're going to dive right back into what we started last week in the new series called What's the Deal with Conflict? And this week we're going to go right ahead, but let's just do a quick backtrack of what we talked about last week. I know last week I gave a definition of conflict, and that is, it is a series of events that have been poorly handled, so much so that it damages the relationship. So many of the relationship issues have festered to the point of being stubborn, prideful, angry, hurt, and even bitterness has set in. And this hurts the relationship. But then I also tell you a couple of don'ts that you're not supposed to do in relationships, or the do nots. It is do not sweep conflicts under the rug. Do not dominate the conversation. Let your mate have some time to talk always. And also, don't ignore each other's point of view. Because when you do that, you're showing disrespect to your significant other. I'm serious about this. Relationships are supposed to be respectful to one another. You're the ones that say you're in love. You're the one that say, I love you. So you cannot be disrespectful to one another. So let's go on with the new information today. And it is called Causes of Conflict in Relationship. Now, I know there are so many different causes of relationship, probably could have 100, and even the ones that I give today and the remaining ones next week, you may disagree with, or you may have some that you would like to add. And if that's the case, please email me some other topics or other causes of conflict so that we can make sure we are on the same page with you. So here we go. The first cause of conflict that I want to talk about today is money problems. Money problems could happen to all of us. Either one of the mates or both of the mates are acting selfishly. And in last week's episode, I talked about most of the time conflict happens because of selfishness. So when we talk about money issues, sometimes it is a matter of one mate or the other, or both being selfish. So we got to make sure we watch out for that. But you got to realize that you're part of a team. When you realize that you are a part of a team, a lot of your money issues and a lot of your conflict will disappear, or it'll subside a little bit. So you got to make sure that these money issues don't take you over the top in your relationship. Let me speak on this before I go any further as we talk about money. It doesn't matter who makes the most money, whether it's the man, whether it's the woman, it does not matter who makes the most money. You must realize that you are a team and you're trying to get the best interest for the team. You're not trying to dominate for yourself or bogart for yourself. You're trying to get the best for your team. So sometimes money issues get in the way of the relationship. Just remember, very often money conflicts begin when the person with the highest income tries to dominate the decisions on how the money is going to be spent. And I just believe it should be mutual. It should be based on both of you making the decision and agreeing to the decision, or at least having the conversation about the decision. Make sure you're communicating. And by saying communicating, that's my next point. Poor communication is a cause of conflict in a relationship. When you don't know where each other stands because of poor communication, conflict will again raise its ugly head in your relationship. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I continue to say this through a lot of these episodes, but communication is needed in every type of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's father-daughter relationships or mother-son relationship or employer-to-employee relationship, even pastor-membership relationships. It must be some communication involved so that both parties can understand not only what's going on, but what the other person is thinking or at least trying to say. You have to have great communication. And sometimes that communication is not just verbal. You can write certain things down. If you're not a very articulate person and you feel better texting or sending an email or even writing down certain things, you may want to do that. That is all a part of communication. Tell you this, strong communication is necessary for the relationship to stand up through conflict. My wife's favorite saying when we do premarital counseling together, she'll tell the couple this: communication is the key. And I believe her. I agree to her. I say amen to her. Because when there is poor communication or no communication between a couple, it really makes the relationship suffer. You both are going to have to learn to grow in your communication to make your relationship successful. And that is the truth. Let me say something to you. I'm going to tell you a blast from the past. Way back when my wife and I were on our third date, at that time I was a quiet guy. I was probably halfway shy. But on that date, she told me, she said, "I don't think we're going to make it." And I looked at her stunned and I said, "Why? I thought you were having a good time." She said, "You too quiet. You don't talk enough for me." Now, what did I do? Did I take it offensive and just say, okay, we're not dating anymore? No, because I liked her. Matter of fact, I've been married to her for 33 years. You know what I did? I started talking. I started communicating better with her. And I can just say this. I think those are some of the things that we have to do. We have to get out of our own feelings and get out of our own way so that we can add better communication in our relationship. But here's the third cause of conflict in relationship: trust issues. It's very hard to be in a relationship with somebody you don't trust, unless you've just totally given up on the relationship and you're just roommates now and there is no affection, there is no love involved. Many relationships end because of a lack of trust in their mate. Some people would say, I only trust my mate as far as I can see them. In other words, if they're out of sight, I don't trust them. That's dangerous. That's a huge problem in any relationship. We should strive to be trustworthy in these relationships with our significant others, and this trustworthiness plays a major part in the longevity of the relationship. And when there's a lack of trust, it's a major conflict because it can have multiple tentacles. And what I mean by multiple tentacles, that means if you don't trust your mate with this, then you're going to have some money problems because you may not trust them with money. And if you don't trust them with money, you don't trust them in the relationship, you may not trust them to be your spouse or your significant other. So it has so many different tentacles. If you're sick and your mate is putting your pills in the pill for you, in the pill bottle for you, and if you don't trust them, you don't want them doing that. So trust is significant in a relationship. No relationship will last without it. Let me say that again. No relationship will last without it. If your mate can't trust you out of their sight, the relationship is soon to be over. One of the keys that holds relationships together, besides communication, is trustworthiness. So I want you to do this for me. If your mate thinks you're not trustworthy, why don't you try it for a season, and you'll see the difference it makes in your relationship. And then we're here at the final cause for today, the cause of conflict in relationships, and that is inconsistent religious beliefs. This is a close subject to my heart, being a pastor, because I believe couples should worship together. Whether it's the male's church or the female's church, that doesn't matter. It just means that you might even have to find a new church that you both can agree on. Because oftentimes, when you worship in different places, you may even be getting different information from the speaker, from the pastor. And then you're coming back with different information, and that may cause conflict. And better yet, what happens when children comes? When you have children and the husband wants the children to go to his church and the wife wants the children to go to her church, that causes conflict in the relationship. And sometimes it is so troubling in the relationship, the whole relationship breaks down, and now the children are torn between the two parents and the religious beliefs. So this is a conversation that should have been had prior to getting married or prior to getting deeper into your relationship. It is a must, because when you want your child to go to your church and he or she wants your child to go to their church, there has to be some type of conflict that comes from that. And when you do not make a compromise, which you should have done before, when a compromise is not made, it definitely leads to conflict, but I'm going to take it one step further, total chaos. And when you have total chaos in the relationship, no sane person wants to stay in a conflict-riddled, chaos-having relationship. So please, before you get serious, before you get married, have these type of conversations with your significant other, because it's important for the longevity. It's important for the strong bond that you have in your relationship. It is important for the longevity of your relationship. So please have these conversations so that you won't have a conflict with money problems, you won't have a conflict with poor communication, you won't have a conflict with trust issues, and you won't have a conflict with inconsistent religious beliefs. Next week, we're going to give you a few more causes of conflict, and I just turned this into a 4-week series because there's so much information about conflict, and I want to give you enough so that you can handle it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And like I said earlier, if you've got some questions, if you've got some basic questions just about relationships and not about just this episode or not about conflict, please contact me. My host will tell you how to get in touch with me. Well, that's all I've got today, but thank you so much for listening. And as always, it takes two to make a relationship work.
Thank you for listening to the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Tune in next time for more insight on how to make your relationship better. If you have any questions, please email us at tmrelationshiptherapy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, it takes two to make the relationship work.